Okay, welcome to the morning. Today, as we're recording this live and doing this practice live together, it is said to be the luckiest day of 2023 because Jupiter and the Sun are going to be conjunct, meaning that from our perspective here on Earth, they look like they're in line together, which is why you won't be able to see Jupiter because the Sun is too bright, right? It's kind of like when the moon is right there, you can't see it either. And Jupiter is the planet of expansion. So it's getting like supercharged by the sunshine today. So who knows what's going to happen today? As far as our practice together today, we're going to tap into that expansive energy. That's a great word, expansion or expansive, for countering or balancing what can feel like a little bit of the heaviness of spring. Now, as the weather starts to get warmer, we're going to yo-yo a bit because at least this week in New England, it's going to be warm. And then next week, it's going to go back to like quote unquote normal spring temperatures. Just be very gentle with yourself. Make sure you still cover with a light scarf around your neck. Have your feet covered when it's a little chilly, just so you don't invite what the traditional Chinese medicine people would call wind evil. You don't want wind evil coming in to your system and disrupting things. So those are my two little tidbits for today. If you have a blanket, that's nice for padding your knees. If you have a tennis ball, great. If you don't have one, it could be a different kind of ball. And if you don't want to use a ball, that's fine too. And then if you have a strap or a stretchy band, something in that kind of fashion, I would grab those things for today's practice. And then let's get started. All right. So you're free to start and be wherever you would like. I'm going to start standing. And I'm going to start with a bit of a standing twist while I check in with myself. It's a very gentle twist. You can be as gentle or excited about this as you'd like. While I'm doing so, I'm looking around my space, taking in the quality of the space around me. I'm also checking in with myself. You don't have to always be still when you check in with yourself. But if you feel better doing so, you're welcome to enjoy a few moments and check in relative stillness. Sometimes momentum helps us keep going, right? And I'm not suggesting this as a tactic all the time, but especially to counter the very unmotivated Kapha energy of spring. It can be nice to start with a little movement, something swingy like we're doing now, and then you just keep going. So if you keep going and bring this down into your hips, maybe you turn this into a hip circle. And one of the things you might notice as we shift into more spring-like temperatures and weather and more of that earthy water elements is if you're like me and you spend a lot of the winter time cracking and popping, like your bones and your joints, that might reduce a little bit as the air around you gets more moist. Change directions. Nice. And then take these circles down into the knees, bring the feet closer together, steer the knees around in a circle. And at any point in your practice or in your day, really, you can check in with your breath. And by that, I mean just spend a moment listening. What does it feel like to breathe while you're doing this movement? Feel free to change directions when you are ready. Remember, you don't have to breathe a certain way. I'm not going to tell you how to breathe. I trust your body knows. But as best you can, keep the mouth closed, the lips closed as you breathe. All right. It's hard to do while talking. Step your feet a little wider and step onto your left foot so you can bring your right toes to the ground, either that or the ball of your foot, and then draw a circle with your heel behind you and let this help your whole leg and thigh rotate inside your hip socket. Change directions. And then switch sides. Other foot. Be nice to yourself if you need to adjust the size or speed or nature of the circle. You can also skip one side if you need to, for any reason whatsoever. Change direction. All right, and then bring the feet a little wider, bend your knees and hold on to your thighs with your hands for a standing cat-cow. Arch your back, look forward slightly, and then round, curl into yourself. And go back and forth a few more times. And then find an ending for that. And step your feet even wider now, as if you're coming into a wide-legged squat or a goddess-style squat. Bend your knees and hold on to the tops of your thighs with your hands. You can hold with your hand or maybe drop to your elbow and you can change your mind in a moment. But start to lean over onto the left side for a side bend. Stretching out the right side, creating space. And then come on over and try the other side. So your right hand is supporting, or maybe it's your elbow. It's up to you. And then maybe try one more to each side. Or if you prefer to flow back and forth, it'll also warm up your legs as you hold yourself up in this way. And if you'd rather take a break, of course, straighten the legs. Beautiful. Find an ending for that and hold on to your thighs again with your hands. You can press down against them a little bit. And then let's take a twist from here. Dip your left shoulder down and turn your torso to the right, any amount. What does it feel like to breathe here? And then switch to the other side. Dip your right shoulder down, turn your torso to the left. And if you like, go back and forth a few times. Your pace, your movement. And then find an ending for that. Come on back up. Feel free to shake it out. I don't know why, but my body wants another standing twist after that. Just a little shake, shake, shake. And then if you have a tennis ball, grab it. If you have another ball, you can grab it. And I want to offer two different things that you could do. In the last week's class, we used the tennis ball to do a little gentle self-massage. So that would be option one. And you can go anywhere in the body. You can apply any amount of pressure. And sometimes even just a light amount of pressure is really nice. Like I can feel some things moving as I take the ball fairly quickly around. You can be as gentle or as vigorous as you like. The other place that's nice is on the back or on the buttocks, the hips. If you stand near a wall and place the ball between you and the wall, and then do your wall ball dance moves to apply a little bit of pressure and massage yourself in that way. So that's option one. Feel free to continue exploring if you found a spot and you're enjoying it. Option two, if you feel comfortable, and I realize not everybody's living situation might allow for this. So if people are still sleeping or you just don't want to make the noise, totally fine. But see if you want to bounce the ball and then pick it back up, bounce and pick it back up. And so this bouncing is something you can do a little bit more walking around. And you're also kind of figuring out like how much of a bounce for me to grab it again. Now you can bounce and kind of grab it underhand. If you want to challenge yourself, bounce and grab it overhand. So drop and lift it up. And then try your non-dominant hand a few times. And then if you want to progress from there, instead of grabbing it, you can tap it. So make your hand more of a blade and then continuously tap and bounce. Now you might be wondering, what does this have to do with Kapha energy and spring? Ooh. Well, first of all, hopefully it's fun. And anything we can do to add some fun, especially in the spring when it can feel a little heavy, things can feel awkward, we're just getting back into feeling ourselves in our bodies. Fun is good. Also, any bouncy movements, either in your, like with a ball or with yourself, are going to help break up some of that winter sluggishness that we might be carrying around. So if you're not doing it now because you're trying to be nice to all the people that are still asleep in your house, totally fine. But something fun you can play with. My husband even takes the ball with him out on the walk with the dogs and kind of walks and bounces the ball there. You can get super fancy and switch hands and play with that. And depending on your ball and depending on the surface that you're bouncing it, you'll notice there are sort of different ways that you can smack the ball. If you play tennis or you have a tennis racket, I highly recommend that you play with that as well. So something to perhaps enjoy, maybe a little later if you would prefer. I think I just woke up my dog, but that's okay. All right, let's keep moving and get a little closer to the floor. We'll keep it expansive and uplifting, but I'm gonna place the blanket down for my knees. I didn't mention it before, but if you do have some blocks, that can be nice to have as well. And then have your strap nearby. Okay. Come on down onto your hands and knees. However you get there is great. So if you're standing up and you feel like doing a little mini sun salutation flow on your way down, feel free. Any kind of movement or choreography that feels good. Enjoy any transition moment that you create. And then make your way onto hands and knees whenever you're ready. There's lots of time. From here, steady yourself on the hands, on the knees, into a strong tabletop. What do I mean by that? Well, I'm not sagging my belly into cow pose, nor am I rounding it into cat. I feel a little bit of strength coming through the trunk muscles, the belly muscles, as I hold myself in place here. And then stretch your right leg back behind you. Maybe lift it off the ground, balancing tabletop. And then if you like, take your opposite arm. So I have my right leg and then my left arm, and you can bring it out to the side at an angle or forward, whatever feels good. And if one or both limbs that you've now lifted off the floor want to stay closer to the ground, like fingertips or toes, you're still getting that balancing cross-body action, no matter how high away from the floor you lift. So enjoy a moment of balancing, wobbling, and smiling as best you can. Breathe in and out through the nose. And then switch sides. So lower the right leg and then prepare to lift the left leg. Balancing table. Start with the leg and then maybe get light on the right hand. Feel free to lift it in any direction. And then when you've had enough fun on that side, bring yourself back to your starting position. Let's try the first side again. So right leg and or left arm. And this time add some dynamic movement. So bring the elbow and knee together underneath you, round your back like a cat. And then expand and get big. Leg goes back, arm goes out, and then bring it back in. Nice. Try this a few more times. Speed is entirely up to you. You're in charge and in choice. Notice a bit of the challenge. I'm feeling heat starting to build. Beautiful. And then settle back down, enjoy a moment here in the middle. And when you're ready, try the other side. So start in tabletop, then balancing table, and then maybe add the dynamic movement. Bring elbow and knee underneath you. Nice. Find an ending for that and maybe enjoy a restful moment. It could be shift your hips back towards child's pose and pause there. It could be simply bringing your elbows a little closer to the earth and letting your head rest for a moment. Or if you want to be more upright, maybe you come up to sit. Nice. Enjoy as much time as you like. You can always linger anywhere. If you're ready for something different, step your right foot forward for a low lunge. And this is where sometimes the blocks are nice to lengthen the arms. You can also bring your hands up to your front thigh. And find a spot for your knee and your foot on the floor that feels relatively steady. So go as wide on your mat space as you'd like. And this is where I'll invite you to grab your strap or your stretchy band, whatever it is you have, and begin to play around a little bit with it, with your hands. So you might be in the lunge and bring your arms up overhead, holding the strap. You might turn and twist with the strap in your hands. You might lean over to one side and then over to the other, or you might create your own little movements, and they don't have to be big. You might simply lift the hands up in the air. And it's different, right? When we have the arms up in the air and we're moving like this without the strap. So you're welcome to try it without the strap as well. I enjoy a bit of the extra stretch through my arms that the strap facilitates. Another place you can play with is, instead of arms up overhead, grab the strap behind your back and reach the knuckles behind you. Again, welcome any wiggles or wobbles or movement that feels good. When you've had enough fun with the lunge on that side, enjoy transitioning to the other side. So feel free to spend a moment with both legs somewhere together. If you'd like to lift up into downward facing dog, this might be a nice place for that. Feel free to stretch out the backs of your legs. And then switch to the other side. Bring your left foot forward. Low lunge. And then maybe grab the strap if you like to play with that. Notice what's different on this side and feel free to let it look different. You might play with looking up slightly. And you can always bring the strap behind your back and reach. Beautiful. Keep enjoying that if you are. If you're feeling complete, enjoy a moment with both legs together. Feel free to curl your toes under and lift your hips for downward facing dog. And then from here or from tabletop, totally up to you, and you can change your mind. Lift your right leg high to the sky, three-legged dog or three-legged table. Bend the knee in the air and turn the belly to the right, hang them out. Open up the right side body. And then reach the toes behind you and bring them back down to the ground. Same other side. Lift the left leg high. Bend the knee in the air, turn the belly, open up left side body. And reach the toes back down to the floor and step your right foot forward for a runner's lunge. This is again where blocks can be nice if you have them. An alternative to blocks is having a chair, something in front of you that you can rest your hands on. We won't be here for very long. And then if you like, start to come up higher towards warrior one. If you still have your strap nearby and you want to play with it, bring it up with you. And then bend your right knee deeply, reach your left heel back behind you. An option to bring the arms up overhead. If you're kind of done with the strap and you want to play around with the arms free in the air, feel free. And again, the invitation is to move the arms around in space. Play, circulate, bring the energy up away from the ground. Now, if you haven't already noticed, when you move the arms around, there's a little bit more balance that comes into play with the rest of this shape. So stay playful with yourself. Enjoy the wobbles. And when you've had enough fun with this, perhaps lean forward so you can bring the feet together, arms up overhead, With the strap, if you have it, arch back, make some noise, standing back bend. And then come on up to mountain pose. Slide your hands down to the floor, standing forward fold. If you still want to play with the strap, bring it behind you. Reach the knuckles to the sky. And then it's a variation of standing forward bend we call yoga mudra. Arms overhead, head below the heart. To come up, strong through the legs, reach the knuckles to the sky, help yourself with that momentum. Beautiful. And then perhaps bring the strap around to the front again. Let's shift to warrior one on the other side. So step your right foot way back, bend your left knee this time. And then feel free to play with the arms. And if on this side, maybe you're ready to release the strap and enjoy a different freedom with your arms. Feel free to play, make different shapes, bend the elbows, different hand moves. I'm doing a little bit of the breaststroke here. Notice what it feels like. Maybe you make big circles or do the backstroke. No rules here, only your creativity. When you've had enough fun, bring the hands back down to the floor. You can release the strap. Step back to plank. Feel free to lower the knees down to the floor. Push the floor away so you can feel buoyant, strong. And then lower yourself down to the belly. If you still have the blanket underneath you, just make sure your pubic bone area is on top of the blanket, but your knees are free behind you. Slide your hands down past the shoulders on the side ribs for cobra pose. Lengthen through the legs and then push the floor down with your feet. Straighten the knees. And from the strength in your legs, grow your cobra head up and away from the floor. What does it feel like to breathe here? And then lower when you're ready. Feel free to stay here if you like, or if you prefer to come up into a cat pose to round your back. You're welcome to enjoy a moment of transition however you'd like. Sometimes a simple butt wiggle on the floor is all I need. And then return to belly down, legs on the floor for another round of cobra. This time, option to use the strap and bring it behind you. Take the wider grip with your hands. Remember, you can always change your mind exactly where your hands are. And then connect with the floor and your feet. Straighten the knees and lift your head and chest. This time, bring the knuckles to reach the wall behind you. What's changed? Is the energy different now that your hands are away from the ground? It's not a competition, so whenever you feel like coming down and taking a break, feel free. You can release the strap and enjoy another moment of transition in your own way. And then we'll do one final belly down, back bending move. It's up to you if you want to return to our first variation of Cobra with the hands close to the floor. You're welcome to use the strap with the hands behind you. Or this time, if you want, not only can you choose to lift the head and chest, but maybe this time you lift your feet off the floor, and then we call it upward boat or locust pose. I personally have my hands free from a strap so that I can move them and turn this into swimming locust. So maybe let your hands go out a little bit towards maybe shoulder height. Feel free to let the feet separate any amount. All of these are choices you can make. Take a break whenever you'd like. If you want to challenge yourself a little bit, bring the arms forward. Whoa, that's a lot. Imagine all the weight of your arms, which doesn't feel like a lot until it's right in front. Adding load, adding challenge, perhaps adding some playfulness. Until you've had enough. And then rest down. Feel free to transition however you like, or if you're still close to the floor, slide your right cheek to the ground and bring your left knee out to the side. Perhaps make a pillow with your hands under your cheek and rest here in what I like to call lazy lizard. And then scoot your right arm straight out in front of you so it's out of the way. And then use your left hand to help you roly-poly a little bit over to your right for a twist. I'm butting up against the wall, so I'm going to scooch out a little bit. But essentially, you're in a reclined twist on the ground. We simply got into it from a different angle. And when you've had enough fun on that side, roll onto your belly, your starting position, and try lazy lizard over to the other side. I'm going to flip around. So now your left cheek is on the mat or your floor. Right knees out to the side. Enjoy a moment here. And then enjoy a few moments rolling into the twist. And when you've had enough fun, return to your belly, your starting position. Press your way up to hands and knees. Feel free to sit back towards child's pose if that feels good, or come on up to sit, which is where we're headed next. With the feet on the floor, swish your knees back and forth a few times. And then extend the legs long out in front of you, reach the arms up overhead, and sweep your hands towards the toes, slide them up the leg, reach back behind you, press into the floor, and lift your chest. And let's start a mini flow, a few rounds here like that. Reach your arms up overhead, sweep the legs, reach behind you, lift the chest. If you want, feel free to lift the bum, upward plank. Go at your own pace, circulating the energy from head to toe, all the way through the hands and arms, legs and trunk. And then at some point, you decide when. Maybe enjoy a moment in a seated forward fold. Allow your torso to release over the legs. When you feel complete, make your way up to sit and gather your legs together, however you're comfortable. And with the eyes open, look around you. What's the feeling now? I thank you very much for letting me guide you in practice this morning. If this is simply the beginning of something else you're doing for yourself, great. If you're getting ready to transition into the next part of your day, I invite you to do so with as much ease and playfulness as possible. There's no need to rush around. And if you're here live, I'll be on for a few more minutes. If you're here watching the recording, we're in this together, and I'm so grateful for you to be here with us. Feel free to leave a comment. Let me know if you played with a tennis ball. That would be your homework. Bounce the tennis ball in your home or outside, and enjoy this beautiful, lucky day and beautiful weather.